how much are you figuring that place is going to ring up this week?
Let's just say that we anticipate probably a 3 to 4x return from anything we've ever done before.
So what you're trying to do is to invest to elevate the tournament. I mean, we trebled our commercial revenues between Paris and Rome, and we needed to.
I feel entirely confident to say that if you are a golf fan, even if you're just a regular sports fan, there is no place else that you might want to be this week than right here, Long Island, the Black Course at Bethpage, the 45th Ryder Cup, and that's where we are on Big Swing. I'm Jimmy Roberts. So glad you could join us once again. As we do every time we see you, we're going to remind you that as we record this, it is 841 days since the PGA Tour and Live Golf entered into what they call a framework agreement. And you know what? At this point, they're still the Hatfields and the McCoys of golf. No agreement yet. As I said, we're at the 45th Ryder Cup, and the size and scope of this thing is just, I don't even know if there's any way to really describe it. Think about this. Go back to 1968. There was no such thing as the PGA Tour. Touring professionals in golf in the United States, that organization was basically the PGA of America. It was the Tournament Players Division. Well, they separated in 1968. The PGA Tour was formed, and one of the items that was on the agenda for the separation was what were they going to do with a couple of events? One event was the World Series of Golf. The other one was the Ryder Cup. The PGA Tour thought, the World Series of Golf, that's got a much, much brighter future than the Ryder Cup. I mean, who watches the Ryder Cup? So the PGA Tour chose to give away the Ryder Cup. All these years later, you think anybody's having second thoughts about that? Especially on a week like this when we're going to see 50,000 people a day in the stands. Think about this. I go back to the first Ryder Cup that I ever went to, 1979. I was a kid, the Greenbrier. You know how much a ticket was? $10. This week, people in these grandstands, on the weekends and on Friday, they'll pay $750 a day. Now, I stink at math, but the way I figure it, that's an increase since 1979 of like 7,500%, right? I mean, you can see it all around here, but the footprint is enormous. I talked to one sponsor who works with a regular PGA Tour event, a pretty big one, and he told me that the footprint for hospitality at that event was 400,000 square feet. Here at Bethpage, we understand that the footprint is about 3 million square feet. And that's only on about 5 holes on this side of the road where the players start and they finish. And by the way, talking about sponsorship and hospitality, if you want to know where it's at right now, there's actually an official moonshine of the Ryder Cup Championship. So how did we get here? That's the question we're asking ourselves this week as we take a look at what this place, which is a public golf course, a municipal golf course, as we take a look at what it's become. Well, I'm not really sure, but we're going to talk about that over the next hour with a couple of people who are going to have some answers for us. Jeff Price, who is the Chief Commercial Officer of the PGA of America. He's basically the guy who's in charge here. Guy Kinnings, he runs the ship for the European Tour. And Larry Schwartz, a guy who's a local guy, born and raised on Long Island, and he was the guy at the heart of the decision that was made to bring the event here to Bethpage 13 years ago. But before we do that, one thing that really has nothing at all to do with the business of golf and has everything to do with what this event is and why we love it so much. Earlier in the week, and people probably didn't notice it, but the American captain, Keegan Bradley, named Larry Nelson as an official ambassador for the American team. Why is that significant? Larry Nelson was a terrific player, won 3 major championships, including 2 PGAs, but he also had a fantastic Ryder Cup record, one of the best American Ryder Cup records ever. And on top of that, when you hear the crowds chanting USA, 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 Larry Nelson fought in Vietnam for the United States of America. If there was ever anybody who shouldn't have been overlooked as a Ryder Cup captain for the United States, it would have been Larry Nelson. And it's a great thing to see him here and in an official capacity. We're glad that they at least took a step towards righting that wrong. We'll be back in a minute with conversations with the people who make this thing home.
I'm Michael Strahan, and one of my big swing moments was winning Super Bowl 42 in Arizona against an undefeated Patriots team. And it completely changed my life going forward from that moment. And not that my life hasn't been great before that, but it sure as heck has been a lot better since.
Guy Kinnings is the CEO of the European Tour Group and Ryder Cup Europe for 3 decades. He also worked at the International Management Group, IMG, where in his last position, he was actually the head of global golf. Guy, thanks so much for taking some time. I know this has got to be a crazy week for you.
Always time for you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Don't butter me up. It's not going to be any easier.
It won't be any easier.
It will not be any easier. You know, let me start with this. We talked about, or just mentioned IMG, which of course was Mark McCormack. Mark McCormack was kind of like the OG of golf and business. I mean, it didn't exist before him. What did you learn anything from him? You probably learned a lot from him.
I mean, he was remarkable. I mean, we talk about what he did, and we talk about him being the founder of the company, but he was really the founder of the business. When he and Arnie, shook hands on a range back in '63, and that I love the story of, he's hitting balls. I think it was at a US Open. I think he qualified for or something, or an amateur. Anyway, he's next to Arnie, and he's conscious that there's someone hitting a ball and making a noise that he couldn't possibly manage.
Yeah, because Mark was a good golfer.
And he was a good golfer.
Yeah.
And they started talking, and Mark, and Arnie's saying, I'm doing great, but can't manage with all the business stuff. Light bulb moment. Mark did that. And then he grew this extraordinary business and company. I mean, he created sports marketing. So to have the chance to work with him was amazing. And what was so good was, although he'd moved on and built this huge global organization and diversified out from golf into every other sport, arts, entertainment, and grown globally, he still utterly loved the golf business and mainly the client business. So he would come into London, or I'd be in Cleveland, and he would insist on catching up. And he'd just want to know how the player's doing, how's so-and-so doing, are we going to recruit so-and-so? And his knowledge, he used to have the yellow pad, and I thought I got everything covered. Then he'd ask the one question I hadn't been prepared for. But he would know so much and want to know so much and had such an interest. So yeah, I was very lucky. I had a lot of time with him. I learned a lot. He was a true mentor. And a lot of the things he kind of educated in, still applicable now, respecting the client, looking out for your relationships. If you're on time, you're late, be early, do all of this good stuff. I even actually gave one of my kids one of his books a while ago, and he didn't want to read a book, but he read Mark's book because it's a really good business learning exercise.
So I think Mark passed away in 2003. The Ryder Cup had already become a big deal by then, but it's absolutely exploded. What do you think he would make of this?
Oh, he'd love this, because for Mark, at the heart of everything had to be authentic. He could do very clever marketing things, but the essence of things had to be about performance. And the reason the Ryder Cup is the extraordinary event it is, there's lots of factors, but at the heart of it, it's about the most compelling sporting event that there can be. And even when it's not that close, it feels close. And the atmosphere and the passion and everything that's unique to the Ryder Cup is born around, what those players do inside the ropes, which is extraordinary. And you see them, I've worked with players, 35 years. I've seen them react to major wins, things like that. They react in a way at 8:15 on a Friday morning that is more demonstrative than sometimes players are going down the stretch on a Sunday. So how much it means to them. How, because they're brilliant, they raise their games and produce amazing stuff. So at the heart of it, you've got a wonderful product. It's then our job, PGA of America's job, to weave something around that. But it's pretty easy to do if what you're working with is unbiased. I think it's the greatest thing in golf. It's in many ways kind of one of the greatest things in sport, simply because of that passion and atmosphere and sportsmanship that could only happen with this event.
Yeah, it matters.
It matters.
It's the rare commodity in sports that everybody's looking for, is that it has to matter. That's a lot of pressure though if you're running this, to keep it going.
Yeah, of course it's pressure. Every single time We finish a Ryder Cup and we go, right. And we work very closely, PGA of America. You know, the guys are going to be competitive, but they respect each other. We've got to be the same. We've got to work together outside the ropes to make sure that you finish a Ryder Cup and we think, that's great. You know, we finished in Rome. It was amazing. The immediate next thought is, wow, you're off to New York. How cool is that? I mean, you're absolutely right. There is pressure, but we've got unbelievably committed teams who work on that, and they're working and planning way out there. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's a privilege. You get to carry the mantle in one of these great events. To have the chance to be able to do that is pretty fortunate. And I sit with my team and I'm like, guys, you're going to have to walk through walls. We're going to have to deliver the greatest event ever, but take the time to enjoy it. What you're around is something absolutely magical. Memories for you working on it will be as important as the team room memories that the players get.
So you get together with your team after the Ryder Cup is over and you do a download about what went wrong, what went right, what do we need to do. Share some of that with us about the process and you know, some of the things that you've learned over the years now.
Well, I mean, the unique nature of the Ryder Cup is such, as you know, so every 2 years and it's home and away. And so the PGA of America will be doing their thing, working with us. So we will be sitting there and we know last putt drops Sunday evening, all eyes will turn to our centenary Ryder Cup in Ireland, Adair Manor. But we've been planning that ever since we announced the venue back in, I think, 2018. Maybe, 2018, 2019. So we'll have teams working on that. They'll already be thinking about 31. We haven't announced 35 yet, but when we do, they'll be ready for it. And it's interesting. I see it through the eyes of my old friend Luke Donald, who's done this astonishing job as a captain. I mean, he really has done a wonderful job. And he believes in, you know, leave nothing to chance, preparation, whatever else. We have to be the same with our team. And we're lucky because we get a team they've been committed. They've done a number of events. So there's that kind of blueprint for success. But every captain and the team will need to put a little bit of style on it. We're in New York. This will be a New York Ryder Cup. We go to Ireland. I mean, how lucky are we to go there? You know, it's in the DNA of the Irish public. What a party we'll have there and wonderful fans. So you take what is a winning formula. You then layer in what needs to be done for each unique venue, and you recognize that tastes kind of change. And we're incredibly fortunate. I mean, you know, the appetite for tickets, the growth in the commercial side of this, the growth in social media. In Rome, I think we had people from 80 countries. So this may be a quintessentially Europe against US content, but it's a global product and people are interested in it and how they want to consume it and how we present it. You don't mess with the winning formula at the heart of it, the 3 days of amazing competition, but the stuff you can do on the build-up, some of the amazing content. I mean, we're very lucky. Our guys love doing it and they do amazing content. Some of the stuff we've released this week, because it's all about the 4 away wins that Europe.
Our place, our time, right?
Our place, our time. And you listen it. And you listen to Tony Jacklin. I was with Tony last night, Bernard Gallagher, Sam Torrance. It matters to them. It means to them they're part of that team. And as you know, the event was transformed. 79 Europeans joined the Brits, and suddenly we're competitive. And you see how much it means to those players, those captains. We've got a lot of them around, and they're all part of that team. And the our place, our time is perfect. Again, great invention by Luke. But, you know, reminding the players, you are in a continuum. You are part of what Sevis and others did in the past. This is your moment. You can change the event. You can change your career by what you go and do. I always say to players, you'll be respected. You'll be admired. Major wins, and money lists and whatever else. You'll be loved for what you do in a Ryder Cup.
You don't own this exclusively. You got to be a partner with the PGA of America. And that could be problematic because it's such a gigantic enterprise. And specifically for you guys, it's such a big part of your lifeblood.
Oh, it is.
Tell me about managing that relationship with the PGA of America.
Yeah, and as you say, it's very interesting because we talk about how much it matters to the players to play for their continent, their country, for each other, but they are playing for their tour. And it's a big difference for us, for the tour. And we know how much we have to nurture that. But as you say, we can only do that if we work effectively with our partners, PGA of America. It's a 50-50 split. And we know you'll want to put a unique stamp on each one, but we have to work together. And what we've done in creating kind of commercial programs where they're worldwide partners, in the past, you used to have partners that would differ between the continents. And that's hard. If you've got a global property to activate properly, globally, it's better to have worldwide partners. And we've got great worldwide partners. We've got global broadcast partners, nearly 50 of those. So we need to work hand in glove. So whilst this is very much, PGA of America have done a wonderful job. You look at what they built here. I mean, all credit to them. But we have to work with them to make sure that those aspects are done seamlessly. And then we know what we're planning to do. It's our responsibility. We have to make sure that we work as closely with them. It's a sort of shared responsibility to elevate this event every single cycle.
Global partnerships and the shared responsibility. How long has that program existed?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen it evolve in the last sort of decade where we started creating these worldwide partners. And you have partners who've been with us throughout that time. Some come and go and some come in just for one particular locale. But I think that's been at the heart of what's allowed us. Because if you get the right partners, they activate in a wonderful way and they bring their own unique style. And you look at what some of these partners do around the event. And sure, they're wanting to take advantage of an association with a wonderful tournament, but they actually add to it. And in terms of building this, as you say, this is an event. You go, why is the Ryder Cup such a wonderful event? Well, it's because it's tribal and it's because the fans care and the players care and all of this. But it's really scarcity. It's every 2 years and we all look forward to it. But you then have to build a program between those events. But we're kind of lucky. If we work with the PGA of America, you can go, all right, well, who's going to be the captain? Who'll be the vice captains? Who's going to qualify? All of these events, these sort of milestones along the way, allow for the event to be in people's minds, people be aware of it. And that allows you to keep the value for the partners, but also keeps those interest levels throughout the year. And as you can see, it just builds till you get what we're seeing here this week.
Which is extraordinary. I think this week about something I was reading about earlier today, and it's really kind of amazing. I'm sure most people don't know this, but in the early 80s, the Ryder Cup almost went out of business.
Oh, no.
European Tour lost its sponsorship deal, right? Mm-hmm. And the future of the event was in question. How in the world do we get from almost going out of business to this?
Yeah. I mean, I think, as I say, at the heart of it, it's because the event, the sport that's played is of the highest standard. And you've seen it. It's also because it's competitive. 1979 changed it, the arrival of the Europeans.
Right.
With all due respect, seeing it won and lost is pretty important.
Right.
And we want to see it won and lost and not just always won at home. So the quality of the sport has helped that event evolve. The ability to build stuff around it has allowed us to grow the tournament. But equally, there needs to be a recognition. Of course, there are commercial elements to this, but also it's our job to make sure the event is better every time. You've got to elevate. You've got to invest in the product. You've got to make sure what you build looks great. Because, for us, as we work on this, what we make from the Ryder Cup goes straight to our players in prize money on the tour. And that's what we do. So we've got to balance.
Which is the difference between you and the PGA, because you are the touring organization, the KP Tour, the world, the European Tour. The PGA of America is supporting PGA professionals. It's a totally different model.
It's supporting other people, but it's a different model. But as you look at it, if what you do is make it look like you're just doing this to generate revenues, that's not the best thing for the event. It needs to be clear. And I think people can see that what you're trying to do is to invest to elevate the tournament. I mean, we trebled our commercial revenues between Paris and Rome, and we needed to, because the costs went up about 4 times. So, you're doing it to make sure you improve the tournament and you leave a legacy. For us, we played in the UK and in Ireland a lot. We've been to continental Europe, went to Spain in 97, going back there in 31, go to France and Italy, which are not massive golfing markets, but you leave a legacy. I was in Paris last week for the French Open, littered with strong French players who I think were inspired by the Ryder Cup in 18. We hope to see the same thing in Italy. So you're building for something that elevates the event, leaves a legacy, and hopefully inspires future generations amongst the players. But also, you look at the fans we're going to have here this week, the fans we had in Rome, the fans we will have in Ireland. You want them to go away going, that was just amazing.
Is there anything that you have learned from something that you screwed up?
Oh yeah. Well, we learn far more from what you get wrong, from what you get right.
Anything you put your finger on specifically?
I mean, in terms of examples, I think that in the past, where people have suggested you change the essence of the competition, never do that. Recognize that what you have is the value of that sporting competition, and then be clever and build everything else around it, but let nothing distract from what is the captain, 5 vice captains, 12 players, that team within a team. And if you protect that, nurture it, everything else will flow from there.
Okay.
Am I going right into it?
Yeah, go.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I thought you were going to be like, wow, you won a trophy. How cool is that? You don't win a lot of sports trophies, Colin. That's big for you. My big swing was probably what the high school that I chose to go to, because I grew up in Staten Island and I chose to commute into this great Catholic high school called Regis High School that's free. If you can get into it, it's free. And so I commuted every day. I took a bus to a ferry to a subway, and then that on the way back. It was like an hour and a half, but it changed my whole life. I never would have met a whole group of people. I never would have, gotten off Staten Island for during high school and those years, having formative years in the city. And when you're 14 and you're on Staten Island, it's a little scary to just be going into the city alone every day and not know what's going to happen. And I was so glad I did. That was a big swing.
Jeff Price is the Chief Commercial and Philanthropy Officer of the PGA of America. He was previously the president and publisher of one of my favorite things to read, The Sporting News, also worked at Sports Illustrated, and was the overseer of the golf sponsorships division at MasterCard. But basically, from a business perspective, the most important thing is that this week, this is your ball game, my friend.
This is a home game. I live on Long Island and thrilled to see it all come to life.
Yeah, and the Junior Ryder Cup was at your club. I know you're very proud of it.
Yeah, very proud. Was there yesterday for the singles or the 4-ball matches, and just amazing to see those young players, to know that 6 boys and 6 girls from the U.S. and Europe competing, thinking about guys like Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas, who played years ago in that Junior Ryder Cup. We were watching a player like Miles Russell, who we're probably going to see in a couple of years right here, and Strahan Cup players as well. So just amazing energy. And when looking at the teams, if you go back to the 2018 Ryder Cup in France, 7 of the kids on the Junior Ryder Cup team for Europe are now from France. A real legacy of that Ryder Cup that was held and the work and love of golf that has come. So that Junior Ryder Cup is a great platform that helps to grow the game, and really from an elite standpoint, bring the best boys and the best girls together, and we're thrilled to host it at Nassau Country Club.
You mentioned it before. You're from just right down the road. You're familiar with this piece of real estate. This is a big, big ballpark, and there's obviously a lot that's going right, but, there's a lot that could go wrong. What keeps you up at night?
We've obviously got the president coming on Friday, so some security details and getting the gates open a little bit earlier. Obviously, Long Island has traffic at times, so hopefully working with the state police and Nassau County and Suffolk County Police, just making sure that folks can get here and enjoy what is an amazing ballpark. As you said, a huge venue, and the build-out that's gone on here is just spectacular.
You mentioned the build-out. I've heard some numbers that you never really know what are the right numbers. I guess you know all the numbers. I don't know how many you're going to be willing to share with us, but how big is the build out?
Gosh, if you go on this side of the road, hole 1, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Which is where the majority of the build out is.
The majority of the build out is on this side. The amount of flooring, tenting that we have is probably 2x from what we've ever done before. And so it really is just a spectacular build, amazing views of golf, video boards so fans can follow the action. Sights out. I was walking by the first tee. The music and the energy is amazing. And so Kerry and the team, I think, did an amazing job understanding this golf course and building something that can take 50,000 people a day, give them a great experience, make sure that our worldwide partners and our worldwide suppliers have a great customer experience. And most importantly, that competition within the ropes is going to be fierce, but there'll be sportsmanship and certainly proud and loud New York fans to support Team USA.
What have you done differently? Or we talk about you learn more from losing or failing than you do from winning. What have you done differently this time around from Whistling Straits, which was enormously successful? Have you changed things?
So I think one of the biggest changes that our team made was the all-inclusive ticket.
Yeah.
So when you buy a ticket, you're going to get food and water and soda for free as part of that ticket package. And so creating an experience where the fans don't have to worry about bringing out their credit card to get food on site wherever they go, it's there. Building that in just creates a better experience. We took some heat when we came out at $750 pricing for competition days. When I talk to New Yorkers who go to a Yankees game or go to a Mets game or a Giants game, when you put breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because you're probably going to be here all day.
Hey, we're New York.
We're New
It's all
York.
about the food.
It's about the food, but it's also about the experience. And so, the secondary market has certainly shown that the interest in this Ryder Cup was over $1,000 for those competition days. And we want to make sure with the People's Perk program that we have 3,000 New Yorkers who've been able to get a ticket because they love this game, and we're able to do that for free. And so having the combination of what we did with the Ryder Cup Plus ticket, inclusive of food and beverage, along with the People's Perk program to make sure that those diehard Long Island golfers could get here. Two things that we've never done before that I think are special to Long Island and certainly to Bethpage.
Tell me about the People's Perk program. What is that?
So it was over the course of the last few months, we knew that we wanted the caddies who work here at Bethpage. Every day is a walking course. Those caddies are all coming to the Ryder Cup on the base of the PGA of America, giving them tickets. We've had thousands of New Yorkers who've have a surprise and delight moment where they are giving a ticket. I was here one day and a gentleman who just turned 70, played the red course and shot 80, was sitting on the back of his truck and said, "Are you the ticket guy?" And I said, "I'm not, but why do you say?"
You actually are.
But he said, "It's my birthday. I just shot 80. I said, "Hold on a minute." It was he was just electrified. Best birthday present he could ever have had. And so those kind of moments with the People's Perk program, we're incredibly proud of. Make sure those diehard New York golfers, those folks that come and sleep in their car to play at Bethpage, we wanted to make sure they would be here as well.
Yeah, so you're going to continue that?
We're going to continue that over the weekend, yes.
You talked about the secondary market. You did get a bunch of pushback. This is New York. People are opinionated about everything. You got some pushback about the price of the tickets. Was some of it because had you not priced them at that level, they would have ended up in the secondary market and then the profit would have gone somewhere else other than the 31,000 PGA professionals in this country?
Jimmy, as you know, we represent over 30,000 PGA of America golf professionals, and all of the programming, things like PGA Junior League, PGA Hope, the things that we run, the Ryder Cup is such an important financial engine to funding those programs. And so we did an extensive market analysis of what is the price elasticity that we could have. Actually, the pricing came back and said we probably could have charged $1,000 a ticket.
Really?
If you just looked at it in the abstract. But we wanted to make sure that we came out at a price that was fair, that we thought we were capturing the appropriate price for those competition days, and we sold out in 48 hours. So the market kind of looked at it and said, this is such a unique event. It's so special in golf, really in sports overall, that we wanted to make sure that we didn't just give those dollars to secondary ticket brokers, that it would be part of fueling our mission and our engine.
All right, walk me through some of the numbers of this place, because most of it, as I say, people will never know. They'll speculate about. Let me share one thing that I heard from a sponsor of a PGA Tour event. He said that their build out was 400,000 square feet at a PGA Tour event, and that he was told the build out here is 3 million square feet. Possible?
In the range, certainly. And if you think about over the course, and one of the things, as fierce as the competition is between the ropes, the work that we do with Kinnings and Ryder Cup Europe to build a worldwide partner program that has amazing brands like Aon and BMW and Capgemini and Citi and SAP and Rolex and DP World, those partners help to tell the Ryder Cup story. Their experience on 17 is spectacular. They're going to have the best customers in the world. We'll have more CEOs here on Sunday than maybe any event in sports. CNBC is going to be hosting a power brunch for all of those kind of executives, thought leaders. So we've got amazing kind of business influencers that are on site. We've got over 180 different companies that are bought into hospitality. They're going to have various experiences all over the golf course. We've just got, I think, the right mix of the general public. We've got amazing partners that support this. We've got innovations like Breakfast at Bethpage, where Colin Jost will host the opening tee shots and really telling the story. We're calling it, the college game day is meeting the Manning cast, and it's bringing that first tee to life. And so trying to get a younger audience to fall in love with the Ryder Cup because of the energy and passion that comes with that first tee. So trying to do some innovative things, take advantage of this amazing venue that we have, and tell the story of the Ryder Cup, which is, Jimmy, is one of the most unique events in sports.
Is this something that's going to be transferable at another place? I mean, this is, as we said, this is a huge place. Can you do this type of thing other places?
Well, the good news is we're going back when we come in 29 to Hazeltine, another really big place and a great venue. So we look forward to kind of taking all the learnings from here. As you said, we're going to make some mistakes this week. We'll see where we can improve, how we can create a better customer experience, how we make sure our partners have a better experience. The work we do with NBC and the worldwide feed coming together to make sure we're telling the stories of the Ryder Cup. All of that we'll do the post review and then start to build the plan for 29, and certainly looking ahead to Adair and 27 when our friends in Ryder Cup Europe bring it to Ireland.
How much of what you've designed here is specific to New York that you can do because it's New York? We're talking about ticket price, $750. You're going to be able to get that in Chaska, Minnesota?
Well, part of that analysis was really understanding what is the Ryder Cup and how can we carry that forward. So $750 was a price that we felt comfortable we'd set the floor of where we would be and that we can move it forward. So yes, we would anticipate similar pricing going into Minnesota because really we've got folks from almost every state and hundreds of countries around the world that are coming to this event. It is not just the local New York support. It is truly a global sporting event. And so we anticipate we're going to take this framework and then bring it forward.
One of the more interesting things that I've found out already this week is that I guess you're auctioning off a lot of the memorabilia and things that are part of the operation here, everything from the ping pong table that's in the U.S. team room to all sorts of artifacts. It's going to be auctioned off and donated to charity. Who came up with that idea and how'd that come to pass?
Chris Hart on our team runs all of our innovation, and he had looked at what was being done with the company called The Realists in other sports, and memorabilia has obviously become huge in baseball.
And it's going to be authenticated, right?
Authenticated. Everything in here was authenticated before folks came onto the site. So we had the authenticators come in, and now PGA Hope, helping our Patriots everywhere, our veterans program, all of the dollars that come from the memorabilia that's auctioned will be going back. Every $330 we get is going to help another veteran participate in the program. So we're thrilled that the Ryder Cup is going to leave a lasting legacy for veterans here in the metropolitan section and around the country.
I love PGA Help. I think it's one of the great programs that you guys have. You do great work. We talked about sponsorship. How many, you said 180 companies are engaged?
Are engaged in one form or another of hospitality. It's truly the most and biggest hospitality program we've ever run.
By a factor of what?
Probably 2x.
Wow. You've even got, if I got this right, an official moonshine.
We do. Our friends at Sugarlands.
They're going to love that call out, by the way.
They will be very happy, and they've been a great partner. They've come up with some really cool Ryder Cup specialties. We've got our friends at Elijah Craig coming up with their own. So it's really nice to see the creativity. And when we work with the partners, part of it is obviously they want to have a great B2B experience, but they also want to tap into the essence of the Ryder Cup and tell stories, and whether it's creating a fan experience for Aon telling the story of Nicholas Jacklin, the concession and the importance of that representing sportsmanship, they've helped us to elevate that at a whole different level. And so when we work with these partners, we try to understand what each of them, how they want to wrap themselves around the Ryder Cup, tell their story, drive their businesses forward, that they help us to elevate the Ryder Cup while they're doing it.
Guy was here a moment ago and talked about authenticity being the most important thing. Do you worry that doing things like having the official anything might compromise that authenticity? I mean, how much is too much?
So it's a great question. And I think it's probably, we've set a cap of 8 worldwide partners. And that is really to make sure that the partners can have a great experience across every aspect of how they want to activate and run the programming they do. But we also don't want to have it look too over the top. And I think we've worked very hard with Ryder Cup Europe to do a lot of fan analysis, consumer insights, understanding, are we at the right kind of threshold? And I think we are. I think we've built a compelling program. I think the storytelling by the partners is great. Certainly, if you're following on social media, there's never been more interest in the Ryder Cup than there is right now. Part of that's the great creativity of our teams, but we've also got to give those brands credit who have bought into the Ryder Cup and are telling their stories in a way that's elevating. So I think if you stick with authenticity and work with those partners and they believe in the values of the Ryder Cup and they help you to bring those to new consumers, all boats can rise.
You have partners, and each of the partners kind of has a very different mission. How difficult is it managing that relationship when what you want and need might be different from what the European Tour wants and needs, no matter how civil you are?
Well, the great part about the partnership that I give Guy and Richard Bunning, who's my counterpart as Chief Commercial Officer for Ryder Cup, it has been a true partnership. It's two organizations that come together as one to run this program. And so we certainly spend a lot of time thinking about the Ryder Cup brand, thinking about we're caretakers of this amazing platform. What are we doing to help grow the asset, create more value for the game, but make sure that those partners that we're bringing in are partners that believe in the values of the Ryder Cup. And I think, we've been very cautious. We don't take every partner at a worldwide level. Again, back to those 8 that we're looking for, we want to make sure that they believe in the Ryder Cup. And I think we have a great group of partners that truly do believe and tell the story of the Ryder Cup.
Let me finish up on this. This event almost went out of business. At one point in 1968, when the PGA Tour kind of came into being and separated from the PGA of America, the Ryder Cup was kind of a throw-in to the deal. It was what the players didn't want. They chose the World Series of Golf.
Correct.
How did we get from there to here?
So I've got to give our friends at NBC from a United States perspective a huge amount of credit. John Miller was one of the first folks to lean in to the value of the Ryder Cup. And I think if you go back to Kiowa and Keith staying on the air and that amazing competition and seeing that to the finish and kind of all of a sudden the groundswell of interest that came out of that, NBC leaned in a huge way in the United States. Sky did the same in Europe. And then I think collectively, we recognized over the course of 50 years that we had something that was special. And we've had amazing players, amazing captains who have created that rivalry and helped to build it. And I think we've built kind of an infrastructure and a business around this platform that went from the World Series of Golf being chosen over the Ryder Cup to now the Ryder Cup being maybe the biggest event in all of golf and certainly one of the biggest events in sports.
Does it make you nervous that it's like winning consecutive championships? Things are good, but when they're really, really good, there's basically only one way they can go.
Well, I think we always like to believe that the next Ryder, Kerry Haig says this a lot, the next Ryder Cup is going to be the best one. Going to Adair Manor, going to Ireland and having it there is a wonderful opportunity. I mean, when we've talked to the partners, having gone from Rome to New York and now going to Ireland, we very much look forward to that. Our partners at Ryder Cup Europe are taking note of everything that was done here. And much like we learned a lot in Rome, I think they're seeing some things that maybe from a merchandise perspective that our team has taken it to a whole new level. How do we improve that when it's over in Europe? And we really do collaborate off the golf course. On the golf course, it's a great competition. And that combination of spirited but sportsmanship competition along with a great business infrastructure, I think is the secret to the Ryder Cup.
All right, I'll get you out of here on one last thing. And I don't know that you'll answer this question, but I got to ask anyway. We understand that merchandise center is 30% larger than the merchandise center at the PGA Championship. We were in there the other day and it was packed. How much are you figuring that place is going to ring up this week?
Let's just say that we anticipate probably a 3 to 4x return from anything we've ever done before. Our friends at Ralph Lauren Polo, representing the U.S. Ryder Cup team, have done an amazing job. All of the vendors and partners, there's just amazing merchandise that you can walk away with. So I would say it's, Jimmy, probably a 4x return on anything we've ever done.
It's a business colossus, one of the great events in golf. Jeff Price, the PGA of America, thanks so much for taking the time.
Jimmy, I just want to say thank you for all you do for PGA of America golf professionals. Your belief in the men and women of the PGA of America is something we truly appreciate, and thanks for having us on, Aaron.
So it's my pleasure.
I'm John McEnroe. You know what my big swing moment was?
when I went over to Wimbledon when I was 18 years old to play the juniors, but went in the qualifying. I ended up getting in, going to the semis of the main draw. My life's never been the same since. Turned out it worked out pretty good.
I am so personally and professionally pleased that this next man can join us. He's basically the reason that we're all here. Larry Schwartz is the general chairman of the 45th Ryder Cup here at Bethpage State Park. And without you, I know you're going to be modest about this, this doesn't happen. First time we met was at the announcement right here at Bethpage in 2013. How did this get done?
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. You're going to make me cry in a minute. It really started in 2006 when I met Peter Babakwer, who worked for the USGA, and we had the US Open at Wingfoot in Westchester County. I was the deputy county executive in Westchester, and Peter reached out to me for help at Wingfoot, and we formed a relationship, a friendship. And 7 years later, Peter then became the CEO of the PGA of America, and I was the secretary to Governor Cuomo. And he reached out to me and he said, Larry, what are the chances the PGA of America can have a 2019 PGA Championship at Bethpage Black as well as a Ryder Cup? And it's a true story. And I said, Peter, Ryder Cup? He said, yes. I said, are you serious? He said, yes. I said, done. I never even went back to the governor and spoke to him and asked him if he was okay with it. I knew how big this was for Bethpage Black, how big this was for New York State and New York State golf. And it was a no-brainer. And I said yes. And here we are 12 years later hosting the Ryder Cup.
So, of course, Pete Vivacqua, who is now the athletic director at Notre Dame, and in between those two jobs, PGA of America and Notre Dame, he just happened to be the chairman of the NBC Sports Group, so we know Pete well. So tell me the story again about the day of the announcement. And you got the governor here. He was obviously a very, very busy man, not a golfer, so it wasn't necessarily something that was going to be on his list of things that I must do. But you got him here, right?
Yeah, the governor is not a golfer. He was a fisherman. He loved fishing. He didn't know anything about golf. So he's a little bit uncomfortable and nervous about doing the announcement with the PGA of America. And it took a lot of work and persuasion on my part to get him to do it and show up. And matter of fact, when he got here, just before the press conference, opened the door, he pulled out a stick of gum and he said, would you like a piece of gum? And I said, yes. And we're both chewing away. And he says, how you feeling? And I said, great, Governor. And he goes, why? I said, this is a great day for New York State. It's a great day for New York golf. And it's a great day for you as the governor of the state. And he laughed and he said, let's go do it. And that's the story.
12 years ago. So the announcement was 13, right? So 12 years ago, in those dozen years, what do you think the biggest challenge has been in putting this thing together? Was there ever a point at which something kind of popped up and you thought, oh, I don't know how we're going to get over this?
Step one was getting the contract done, right, between the state of New York and the PGA of America. And once that was done...
was that easy?
I consider it easy. I mean, state makes millions of dollars in tax revenue, sales tax, hotel tax, income tax. We employ thousands of people temporarily to set up the tournament. So it's a huge win-win, and it's part of New York's quality of life, bringing professional sports to the state.
I've seen so many numbers associated with this event. I'm not sure how much credibility some of them have. You're the general chairman. Forget about your role of bringing the event here. Why don't you wow me with some numbers? Give me some sense of like the magnitude of what's going on here.
I think when all's said and done, if they do an economic fiscal analysis, state of New York is going to benefit by over $200 million from this event. When you think about all the sales tax from ticket sales, merchandising sales, all the hotel tax, all the money people are spending eating in local restaurants or being in New York City, it's a huge spend. But to me, what's more important, again, it's the marketing and the branding. The world is watching New York today and all this week, and they're watching Bethpage Black. The greatest fans in the world are New York fans, and they're going to be passionate and loud.
You talk about the economic impact. How many people are working here?
There's probably 10,000 people working here, I would imagine, on and off the course. I mean, think about all the concession lessons. They're doing all the hospitality in the clubhouse and other places. Think of all the servers in all the hospitality suites. All the there's thousands of volunteers, all unsung heroes, in my opinion, because a lot of them are never going to see a single match. They're not going to see one of the Team USA players hitting one single shot, right? Because they're off-site working on the shuttle bus transportation, or they're working in a hospitality suite. And without them, you couldn't have a great tournament.
You have devoted much of your adult life to public service. You mentioned a moment ago that there are all these volunteers out here, thousands and thousands of people who are here and may never see a shot. That seems to be a diminishing model in our world.
Yeah.
How do we encourage people to contribute to society in that fashion?
It's a great question. I'm not sure I have the answer anymore. It's getting harder and harder. Politics has become very personal, and it's become very tribal. I would just encourage all young people, there's nothing more rewarding than public service. Even if you do it for 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, or as long as I did it, it's going to enrich your life. It won't make you rich, but what I've always told the staff that I work with, my colleagues, your experience will enrich your life. The things that you accomplish to help others, to improve their quality of life, will enrich your life. These will be memories that you will carry forever. All the people, all the maintenance people, state employees that have worked tirelessly to get this golf course ready, they should be as proud as any New Yorker. This is going to carry with them for the rest of their lives. They set this course up, and I've heard more people than I can count say how great Bethpage Black looks. And that credit goes to the head green superintendent, Scott Matson, the general manager of Bethpage Park. Again, there's so many unsung heroes. I'm humbled that I'm here talking to you, Jimmy. I don't feel I deserve it. I feel they deserve the recognition. Without them, today couldn't happen. And so I think all New Yorkers and the country should say thank you to them, even if it's to themselves, and let them know that, we're thinking of them and we're proud of them. And I'm proud to be a New Yorker, as you said earlier in this show. I've lived here all my life. I'll die here as a New Yorker. This is a great day. This is a great week. Or, like I said, New York State, New York Golf, and go Team USA.
So at the top of the show, we asked, how did we get here? Well, you heard Guy Kinnings talk about authenticity and why that's so important for the history of this event. Everybody has that one moment that really sticks with them, one really authentic moment that kind of defines the Ryder Cup in their eyes. I know I do. And for me, it always goes back to 1995. But in order to understand it, you need a little bit of context that happened before that. For a long, long time at the beginning of this event, the Europeans, actually, to start out with, it was Great Britain and Ireland before it was the Europeans. Well, they were dominated by the Americans. And then Tony Jacklin took over as captain in the 80s. Europeans won 2, tied another one. And so the Europeans held the cup for 8 years. And then it swung back the other way. But Jacklin retired as captain, and a guy named Bernard Gallagher took over in 1991. Gallagher lost in 91. He lost in 93. And when we arrived at 1995 at Oak Hill, looked like he was going to lose again. Europeans were behind on Sunday. Actually, that it seemed to be a margin that they had never been able to overcome. 2 points on Sunday, which was a lot. But the Europeans came back and they won. That year, Lanny Wadkins was the American captain, and this guy was as competitive as you could possibly get. He had a great Ryder Cup record, and he cared desperately about the event. He was devastated by the loss, especially the way it happened. So at the closing ceremony, Watkins gets up there to address both teams and the assembled fans. Comes to the podium, puts on his glasses, takes out his notes, And then there's this really uncomfortable silence. And I know I was thinking, and a lot of people must have been thinking, what the heck is going on here? He was emotionally overwhelmed. He couldn't talk. And then, like that, up strolls Bernard Gallagher, the man who had lived in the shadow of Tony Jacklin. He grabs Lanny's notes, puts his arm around him, and he says, let me help you out with this, my friend. I've been through this a couple of times myself. And that's why the Ryder Cup matters, certainly to me, but it's moments like that that make it authentic and have certainly helped it to grow over the years till we get to a point where it's this, kind of like the Woodstock of golf. I'm Jimmy Roberts. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Big Swing. We want to thank the PGA of America for their use with this space and all the help they gave us this week, whomever it was that you were rooting for. Hope it was a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
The Big Swing with Jimmy Roberts is executive produced by Adrian Gallagher and Jimmy Roberts. Produced by Alex Resnick and edited by Sarah Chovnek. The show is a production of Big Swing Media. Fred Buescher, CEO. Jimmy Roberts, Chief Content Officer. And Spence Kramer, Chief Operating Officer. Special thanks to Jackson Roberts, Matt Casey, and Jack Joyner.